Do what you feel in your heart to be right, for you will be criticized anyway. Eleanor Roosevelt. Good morning. Welcome to Sunday Connection here at Unity Gresham. Today, we're going to talk about Jesus. Oh yeah, in a big way. Do you know what a theocracy is? Let me explain to you what a theocracy is. Some of you probably know, but I just want you to be really clear on what a theocracy is. Theocracy is a form of government in which a deity, that is a god, of some type is recognized as the supreme ruling authority, giving divine guidance, now this is the key, to human intermediaries that manage the day-to-day affairs of the government. Think Europe before the Renaissance. Catholic Christian rule, which, by the way, Catholic Christianity was the only Christianity at that time. From the late 4th century and early 5th century on, nearly to this present day, there are still some countries in the world that are dominated by the Roman Catholic Church. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Right now, we're in the midst of a very, very, very controversial election season. As you probably all know, if you watched any of the Democratic National Convention this week, you heard the candidates and others do a real number on the current administration, number 45. He didn't like it, and he fired back, of course, with his own rhetoric. But here's the thing. Number 45 has the backing of a lot of what are known as dominionist evangelical Christians. And regardless of what their particular religious belief is, they are all for turning the United States into a Christian theocracy. They don't like the Catholics, they don't want that, or Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons. They definitely don't want Muslims or Hindus or anybody from outside of the Christian faith. Just fundamentalist, born-again, evangelical, dominionist Christians to run everything from the federal level through the state level, through the city and the county level. That's theocracy. And you have a fairly large segment of the population who think they would like to see that. I came from the evangelical background, so I have a pretty familiar working, shall we say, with them. And here's something interesting about dominionism. If you ask the dominionists, is there democracy in heaven? No, they'll say. There is no democracy in heaven. God is not a president. God is not a prime minister. God is king, supreme leader. And we follow all of his directions, and he gives us the directions, and we tell you. Just as the bishops and the cardinals and the popes all did during the reign of the Roman Church in Europe and other parts of the world. Theocracy. This has nothing to do politically with our spiritual journey, except it does. Because they don't like you if you're not an evangelical Christian. And if they were able to create a theocracy in this country, every other kind of faith path would be considered illegal. I'm not stretching the truth here at all. If you ever get a chance to talk to a true dominionist, they will tell you exactly what I'm telling you now. God called the United States to be a Christian-controlled country. Nothing else. And there are levels of humanity. Biblically speaking, some people are less than others, and that would be reinstated. Theocracy. If you're a democratic person at all, liberal or conservative, you don't want that. That's the end of freedom and justice and peace and tranquility, if we've ever had such things, as we know it. There's just no such thing under that kind of a dominion. So I'm sharing that with you this morning because it's rising high in the rhetoric right now out there among those who are ranting and raving for their side, particularly the far right side. So, what does Jesus have to do with any of that, you would think? It wasn't Jesus more of a loving, kind, caring, compassionate person? Why would he be at the helm, I should say, in the realm of such a type of government here on this planet? Well, he wouldn't. And the Jesus that I know from Scripture and elsewhere never comes across as that kind of Jesus, that kind of Christ, which means anointed. That's what that word means. You know, it's not Jesus' last name, Jesus H. Christ, as they say. No, his parents weren't Joseph and Mary Christ. Christ is a title, and it means anointed or awakened, similar to the Buddha. Yeah, the Buddha and the Christ, the definitions are very similar. So I'm going to share with you this morning, and I'm going to attach it to this email so you'll have it for yourself if anybody asked you about it. I'm going to share with you this morning what Jesus actually is and what he means to those of us who really like him as he is. In unity, Jesus represents love, and love is the only reality. So let me share this with you. Like I said, it's going to be in your handout, so you can share this with whomever you choose. And the title of it, Jesus was a liberal. Now listen closely to this, okay? If you question any of it, that's fine. You can go to the Bible and find any contradictions that you might want to. But this is the Jesus that we in Unity, New Thought in general, know and love. He was a radical, non-violent revolutionary who hung around with lepers, hookers, and crooks. He wasn't an American, and he never spoke English. Have you ever seen those Renaissance paintings where Jesus is portrayed as this beautiful, almost golden-haired white man? And if you take a look at all the people at the Last Supper with him and all the other paintings where there are other characters, they're all European-looking too. Jesus wasn't that. Jesus was a little brown Semitic person in the Middle East 2,000 years ago. He was anti-wealth, and when he says anti-wealth, he means the kind that keep it, hoard it, don't share. That's what he was referring to, because he had rich friends. He did. As a matter of fact, the tomb that he was buried in was the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, who was called a very rich man. And a lot of the women that took care of him at his crucifixion were also well-to-do. So it isn't money itself, but it's how they used it and how they used it against the poor. Anti-death, he really believed, anti-death penalty. He truly believed that all life was wonderful. Anti-public prayer. He told everybody, if you're going to pray, go into your closets. Don't be out in the streets waving your hands and telling everybody, look at me, I'm a spiritual person. Pray in private. He did not work for a corporation, and he was undocumented. You know that his parents had to flee into Egypt first, and they had to come back so that Jesus could be born in Bethlehem. So technically, he was part of a migrant family. He believed that we were all equal in the eyes of God. He advocated social justice. He gave people hope instead of fear. He advocated change instead of the status quo. Think about that for the moment. He preached peace instead of war. He angered the local conservatives. Yeah, those Pharisees were scared to death of Jesus. Not because he was causing the people to turn against them, but because they feared the powers in Rome. That if this liberal didn't be quiet, they were going to send federal troops into the city to stop the peacemakers. Portland, does that sound familiar? Federal troops, federal officers, federal agents? Duh. He was never anti-gay. There's not a place in the New Testament where Jesus speaks out about gay people. No. If you understand St. Paul, he never really does either. But that's another story for another time. He never mentioned abortion or birth control, never called the poor lazy, never justified torture, never fought for tax cuts for the wealthiest, never asked a leper for a copay, and was a long-haired, brown-skinned, homeless, community-organizing, anti-slut-shaming Middle Eastern Jew. His philosophy was based in compassion, equality, inclusion, forgiveness, tolerance, peace, and most importantly, love. That's the Jesus I know. That's the Jesus I like. That's the Jesus who shares this sanctuary with us here in Unity. No devils, no demons, nothing like that. Just the love of the Christ, the anointed, the awakened. That's the Jesus that I want to share with the world. And it's not a Jesus who wants me to sit at his feet, call him king, and worship him forever. That's not the Jesus I like. So, to all of you out there who think that a dominionist theocracy might be the way the United States should go, I'm going to take you on. But I'm going to take you on in love. And I'm going to take you on in forgiveness, in peace. And I'd like to close this little session today with the very art of forgiveness, which comes right out of the Buddhist's own words. This is called the Buddhist prayer of forgiveness. And you know, as we see all this stuff going on around us, we're going to have to learn to practice forgiveness more and more and more. Jesus said to forgive. The Buddha said to forgive. Let's forgive, but that doesn't mean we have to take any crap. There's a big difference between forgiving and letting someone walk all over you. So, this is the prayer of forgiveness. I'm also going to include this in your handout this week. So take this, post it up on your wall, put it next to your bed, whatever you want to do with it, and just remember that we love, we forgive, and we take no poo-poo. Okay? All right. The prayer of forgiveness. If I have harmed anyone in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through my own confusions, I ask for their forgiveness. If anyone has harmed me in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly through their own confusions, I forgive them. And if there is a situation I am not yet ready to forgive, I forgive myself for that. For all the ways that I harm myself, negate, doubt, belittle myself, judge or be unkind to myself through my own confusions, I forgive myself. Be kind to yourself. Love yourself. Forgive yourself. And remember the words of Jesus. Love is the only reality. And so it is. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.